What is up, everybody? It is Mark Coons here with Coldwell Banker Horizon Realty, and we're looking at the Central Okanagan's real estate market for June of 2022. And in this month, we've started to see a lot more of a slowdown, so we're really just going to dive June of 2022. And in this month, we've started to see a lot more of a slowdown, so we're really just going to dive right into it and get into it. But if you do have any specific questions on the market, it's sometimes not as easy as just looking at stats. But if you have specific questions about certain areas of the market, we can look at things a little bit differently. So feel free to reach out. My number, my email, everything like that. Give me a call, give me a text, shoot me anything. That's what I'm here for, to help you out. If you're looking to buy, sell, whatever your situation is, that is what I'm here for. But as we get into the stats here, June is really the month that we've seen quite a bit of a difference in the real estate market. So when we're looking at it here, so we're going to take a look at the total number of sales, and we're just looking at it generally speaking for the whole Central Okanagan. We're going to divide it out and look at other little segments of it as well. But overall, right now in the Central Okanagan, for the total number of sales, and as it's generating here, we had 395 total sales, which is going to be down. If you look at this chart here, you're going to see how it's dipping down. And so right there, it's 395. We'll get to the data section there. But just on this chart, you can kind of see how it's changed over time. So we had in May 567 sales. That's where this would be. And then, you know, obviously it's coming down from there. We had another peak there. That would have been in the last spring, kind of when the thing happened. A lot of things happening. I don't want to say that just because of the algorithms, but just looking at it. So that's what we're looking at for the real estate market there as a whole. You can see how it's trending. So we're still up over what it was in at the end of 19, but half the sales roughly. So we're roughly around half the sales of where we were last year. So we're right around that 87% of total sales of where we were last year, and trending on the 5-year average, we're going to be quite a bit lower there. So we're down 100 sales from where, you know, over 167 sales, 170 sales from when we saw another dip there in 2019. Roughly speaking, these numbers are fairly closer to 395. It's closer to where we were in kind of the late fall of 2019. So the earth isn't completely falling out. We still have quite a few sales, 400 sales, still 400 sellers, 400 buyers. So, you know, the market is still turning, but we're seeing a reduction in price there. 419 in January of this year. So, you know, it's not as high as what we saw. Obviously, we saw a spike there. But what we're going to look at is where the inventory is going. So that's where we're going to go next overall. So supply, demand. So this is the demand side of things. Anytime you're looking at a market, we're going to try and see the supply and the demand. So with that is the demand side of things. Where we're at supply-wise, just so we know how pricing's heading and which way it's heading. So we're going to look at the active number of listings right now in the Central Okanagan, just overall in the marketplace. So this is one place where we're starting to see the listings up 87% compared to, you know, it's getting a lot closer to the average market here. So we're up 900 listings from where it was last year. So that's about a third of the amount of listing. We're seeing 30% more listings on the market right now than what we saw last year at the same time. If you look at 2020, we had 3,000 listings. 2019 at the same time, we had 3,500 listings. So we're down in inventory roughly. We're about 80% of this 5-year average. So if you average this all out, but just knowing that last year in 2021, we had a significantly reduction of the amount of listings. So it's starting to come back to a more healthy level. More options is giving buyers, you know, more options and higher interest rates. So people are just kind of holding off, and maybe just, you know, my sense is just people just holding off for temporarily, potentially. Time will tell if it's temporary or exact. So anyways, so that's what we're seeing for the inventory side of things. As we break it down and we look a little bit more into the single family market, we are seeing, you know, roughly around the same things. And what we're seeing, so the total new listings, we'll go over it, but total new listings isn't always the best number. as it's loading here. But we have, because homes will be taken off the market and new listings coming on the market. So if you want to get a copy of the monthly email report and the weekly email that I do, sign up for it below. There's going to be links below. Just sign up for it, or shoot me an email, shoot me a text if you just say you want to get updated on it. So we'll go over what the new listings on the market were and where things are at with it. For the single family home side of things, so we're just going to change this to single family, and we're just really going to focus on the single family homes, more people, not necessarily the investments and the duplex market, but just the single family homes, carriage house, and with Bearland strata, and this is for the central Okanagan. You can see how on this chart there, it is, when it does decide to load, this is, we're starting to see active listings. So we're looking at the inventory side of things, so you can see how the active listings is going up. So we're seeing that creep up there, and it is it hasn't necessarily petered out, but we're up 87%. Actually, well, 88% for the active number of listings from where we were. So the total new listings that happened this month was 667, which we'll get at in a little bit. Some of those new listings that we saw come out were withdrawn or expires, and they've relisted. So not necessarily all new inventory. But the new inventory, what we're seeing, you can see how these numbers are changing. So in January, it was 395 active listings. And now we're 3 times that amount at 1,253. So that's just something to keep in mind and look at. We're more options for buyers is putting a little bit of the softening on pricing. And we're starting to see, especially in the temporary time period, is more motivated sellers are making more significant price drops. Maybe you can negotiate a little bit more on the price point depending on how motivated each and every seller is. With the townhouse market, and then we'll look at the total number of sales here. Sorry for the single family homes here before we get into the townhouse market. But what we're seeing is total number of sales here, 175 total sales versus the total amount of listings. So this is roughly, here we're about at half of what the sales were last year for the single family homes. We're down 75-ish, 75 total sales from May. Overall, looking at 175 sales, that's still not a bad year. But it is definitely trending below the 5-year average. So a number of factors happening with that. We don't know exactly what's happening, can't predict it, but that is what we are seeing. If we look at the townhouse market, and we just change this over to the townhouse market, we are seeing roughly around the same thing. So it's just generally speaking, the total number of sales, again, so we're looking at the drop here, not as significant of a drop, but it is definitely it is slowing down there. So in June we had 77 sales, and then from the peak what we saw for this year so far, May, we saw 91 sales, and we'll look at the overall numbers here. But as you can see, so total number of sales not too far off the 5-year average. 2020 we had 77, 2019 80. 2018, 72, so not too far off those years. 101 sales last year, so we're down about 30%, 25% ish of where we were over the 5-year average. And if we looked at the number of active listings, 290 active listings currently versus 162 last year and 219. So more and more inventory is coming up. We're up from 95 in January and 77 in February. So again, these numbers are kind of tripling from what it was where we started out the year with the additional inventory in the marketplace. When we look at the apartments things, we're going to look at the active number of listings. We see it's creeping up there. Still, roughly, just over the 400 total amount of listings over the 5-year average. That is kind of, still fairly low from where you have, just with the one exception of the last 2 years where you see this little dip there. But it is relatively in the same type of market. This is not including any pre-sales either. So a lot of new developments will not have the additional inventory of the pre-sales because they don't necessarily hit the market when they sell off. So those are the big developments that you're seeing, like Aqua or Movella or One Water Street. A lot of those ones, not all the inventory will hit MLS. Only certain inventory will hit MLS. So that's just something to keep in mind with it. We have 411 total active listings currently. So we are up slightly, about 25% roughly, just speaking from last year, and we're about double where we were last year, so or in January where the year started. So it's in the not as big of changes right now in the condo market, but it is also the lower end price range, so there is a little bit more activity there. Speaking, but so the number of active listings hasn't changed a great deal, but the number of sales has also dropped off. 102 sales compared to half of what it was last year at the same time. And then we're looking up here in January, 103 sales. So we're right on par for where we kind of started the year. No further ahead. We're down about 60 sales from where we were in April and May type of situation. So overall, not the earth isn't falling out. Transactions are happening every day. With all these transactions, what we're seeing